Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday's Tech Talk. Our talk for today, landing your first role after a coding bootcamp can be very challenging, especially in today's competitive job market. So, this session focuses on practical ways to stand out and showcase your value as a new developer through intentional networking, consistency, and authentic personal branding. So, our speaker today, Brooke Sweedar, a software engineer, content creator, and fellow bootcamp graduate, will share relatable insights and strategies that help her grow from student to successful engineer. So, without further ado, Brooke, I'll let you lead now.
Awesome. Thank you, Gracie, for that lovely introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is Brooke Sweedar. I'm a fellow bootcamp grad. So I've been exactly where you probably are now, unless you're also a fellow grad. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, and I'm here to talk about basically how to stand out in this really difficult tech market. I feel it would be a strong disservice to label it as anything else. I think transparency is very important. And just to preface this, if anyone has questions, please drop them in the chat. I really do want to maximize this hour that we have together as I go over my story and share some of my tips and tricks that I've learned. Because my story, I do not have the traditional entry into tech. I went to college, dropped out, not for computer science, by the way. I just didn't like school very much. And then I immediately entered the corporate world. And I actually worked as an executive recruiter for 10 years. It was a really great firm, family owned, but I wasn't passionate about my job. It was something I kind of fell into when I was 18 years old. And the people were great. I loved the company that I worked for, and it was comfortable, right? I think that sometimes most people kind of just fall into the regular monotony. You know, we all have bills. It's a job. You get things done. But I wasn't particularly feeling fulfilled. And then next thing I know, 10 years went by, and I finally reached a point where I was like, I've got to do something different. So I thought about going back to school and really just researched some different avenues. I wanted to make good money. I wanted to continue working from home. And I had actually just discovered a little bit about coding in my free time. And I was learning about HTML and CSS through just a weird coincidence. Like, I didn't know anybody in tech. I didn't have anyone in my family that was in tech. So it truly was like a whole new world to me. And so I looked into maybe doing a tech boot camp because it would be quicker. You know, I didn't want to do 4 years of getting a degree. It was also a lot more affordable than the average United States college tuition. So I signed up for a full stack 6-month-long tech boot camp in January of 2024. And it was great. My personal experience was actually very positive. I had great teachers. I really enjoyed it. I felt that the fast pacing was good for me. I felt like I needed that pressure to be applied. And so that was just the right decision for me. But I think one of the biggest things that I learned along the way was the boot camp isn't enough. And I know that we're all here talking about the benefits of a boot camp, and I'm not here to minimize that. But in this market, you do have to be very proactive about how you're presenting yourself. You want to be hireable, right? That's why you signed up. It's not just about learning how to code. Yes, that's the foundational steps, but it's also about landing that job. That's not going to happen without getting the interview process first. So, as I mentioned, I was a career switcher at 28. I'm now 29 years old. I started from zero on LinkedIn. I was like, okay, being an executive recruiter, I learned that that's a great professional networking website, but I really wasn't very active on there. So I went from 180 connections pre-existing from years of being on LinkedIn, but not doing anything with it. And now I'm approaching 27,000 followers. That's crazy. That's not a goal to reach for. Just my story is a little bit unique, but the truth is I started literally from ground zero. I didn't have anyone to hold my hand, teach me about networking. I'm a very introverted person, and the thought of speaking to strangers, especially really well-established professionals that already existed in the tech space, that was very intimidating to me. So I just kind of had to do some scary stuff and figure this out from scratch. And now I'm here to share that with you. And hopefully, if nothing else, you take away that if I can do this, I promise you can too. And as we're going into the truth about breaking into tech, I mentioned that this market is very difficult. I know upon the rise of COVID, there was a lot of layoffs, there was a huge shift, and a lot of people decided to pivot to tech, which makes sense because as an industry overall, it's been very remote friendly comparatively, right? It's not going anywhere. It's ever expanding, especially with the rise of AI. It's hard to run a business of any kind in any industry without technology being at the foundational basis of it. So it makes sense. I do think it is a great investment and a really exciting time to be a part of this industry. But that also makes it very attractive, right? Who doesn't want to work from home, make six figures, and solve problems and build something really, really cool that's going to make an impact? But there's one thing I want to share with you guys. Even though you are, most of you, I'm assuming, are current students learning to code, learning how to build, it kind of doesn't matter if no one knows about what you're doing. And I'm not minimizing how intelligent you are or how special what you're building is, but my favorite analogy is the tree in the forest. So if a tree falls in the forest, but no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? And that same principle applies to you going on this journey and learning all of these skills, adding them to your arsenal, but people need to be seeing what you're doing. This is more about showing off who you are rather than just, hey, I know JavaScript, I know React, and I can build this CRUD application. That is fantastic and definitely necessary to succeed, but you need to be learning how to show off your skills and also introducing yourself to people. And one of the best ways to do that, honestly, is networking and posting proactively on LinkedIn. It is the world's largest, most professional platform. I understand that networking sounds very buzzwordy. It can make you go, oh my God, I just don't want to do, I just want to learn to code. I just want to code. I just want to build. I just want to get a job. And I promise you, I understand that. Most of these software engineers that I talk to, they have that mentality, and I get it, right? You're not here to be some content creator or be visible online and posting videos or whatever. And you don't have to do all of that. That's my journey and sort of the steps that I fell into. But I'm here to show you how to take some actionable steps to get in front of people who are hiring, right? People who are these business decision makers, and also gain some community along the way beyond just the walls of your boot camp. I understand that you have your instructors, you also have your classmates. That's fantastic. Definitely lean into that. But it can be kind of isolating. You know, boot camps can be very high pressure. The pressure of breaking into this industry can be very intimidating too. So whenever you do learn to surround yourself with people who are in the same boat as you, who have been there and done that, it's going to make things easier, I promise. So we're just going to get into it. I want to start baby steps with you. Most people aren't super active on LinkedIn at this stage that you're in, right? I think a lot of people think of LinkedIn as like, oh, it's for very established professionals in their field. Like they're experts. They have newsletters. They've got something to offer. They're talking about how their board of directors is doing. And that's not true. It is a space for everybody who is a working professional. And it's actually really lucrative for the tech industry. So to start, you have to have a LinkedIn profile. And I'm here to just talk through the basics, right? One of the good things about LinkedIn is there's a section when you're building your profile where you can add your skills, right? So you can put in whatever languages or frameworks that you're learning or whatever areas of expertise you are. My biggest piece of advice, you have a real advantage actually being in a boot camp because your classmates, you guys can endorse each other for these skills. That means whenever someone visits your profile and they say, okay, Richard here, has been endorsed for JavaScript by 4 other people. That means that these are people who've seen that he actually knows what he's talking about and can do this. That's great for any hiring manager that's potentially going to visit your profile. Like instead of having just a blank slate, like, okay, this guy says he knows this, but so what? So that's actually like a really good little hack that you can do with your classmates. I definitely encourage you to do so. One of my biggest pet peeves that a lot of entry level or bootcamp students do whenever they're putting their titles in their LinkedIn profile is saying, you know, an aspiring software engineer or an aspiring data analyst, whatever. I really discourage you to call yourself an aspiring anything. You're already in this bootcamp. You are already building and learning and coding. And even though you're still in the more junior level, you need to enter that state of mind that you're already there. This is who you are. Software engineers and people in tech, we're building proactively, and to be honest, the learning never stops. I promise you, I talk to people from all over the world in all stages of their tech careers. The learning never stops. So there will never be a point where you're really like, you've reached the self-actualization level of making it in the tech industry. But it's really important to look at your LinkedIn profile as being another version of your resume, or I kind of jokingly call it a dating bio, right? If you any of you guys are on the apps, I don't know. But it's true. You want to put your best foot forward. You're trying to show off the best assets of yourself to land that interview, right? To get someone to reach out to you and be like, hey, we have this opening here. I want to talk to you. It just makes sense that you put your best foot forward. So being visible online is really scary to most people. Most of us are active online, right? We all have social media or whatever, but also most of us are kind of lurkers, right? We're used to sort of being in the background and just scrolling and not worrying about it. But one of the biggest advantages that you're going to have is showing up, showing your skills, showing off your talents and what you're learning online. So posting about your learning journey is a great way to get started. I mentioned I literally started from zero, not an exaggeration. And I felt really transparent here. I felt very stupid and silly showing up on LinkedIn and being like, hey, I built this little app, and I felt very insecure about it. Like no one's going to care. And it's very rudimentary because I was starting foundationally, which we all do, by the way. No one is just born a tech genius who's going to solve everything. And I think that that's really important to remember. And what I found, which was a big surprise for me, was as I was putting my content out there and just sharing like, hey, I ran into this problem, this is how I overcame it, I had so many people very organically, again, from all stages of tech, big tech included, all the way to startup founders, just commenting and being like, hey, that's really great. I remember when I was at that point. If I can help you in any way, let me know. And I found myself just starting to get these DMs and these messages, people encouraging me to keep going, because realistically, people do know how tough it is out there. And I will say, if you show up and you are consistent and you put in the work, you're going to get noticed. It will not go to waste. So don't wait to be perfect. Start showing up as you are, because the perfection that's not real for anybody, no matter what we may think, but it's going to create trust before you even apply. And so one thing I learned too, I started posting when I was active in my boot camp. So while I was still a student, I began networking on LinkedIn. I encourage you to do the same. One of the biggest mistakes, and I've talked to a lot of boot camp grads, folks from all walks of life, was that they regretted waiting to network and posting on LinkedIn until after they graduated. Because you're starting from ground zero, nobody knows you, you don't have any trust. And that's really, really essential, because why would somebody reach out to you about a potential opportunity if they don't know who you are? But whenever, you're Isaiah, who's been consistent in talking about his journey and how excited he is to be joining this industry and what he's been working on, when you're consistent, you're going to get recognized. And then the next time that someone has an opportunity, they're like, hey, we're looking for a new entry-level dev. So yeah, they could go spend thousands of dollars, and it does cost that, by the way, previous executive recruiter, to post an ad on a job board, where they're going to get saturated with thousands of resumes and applications from anonymous people. Or they could contact Isaiah because they've been seeing him on LinkedIn talking about this tech stack that is exactly what they're looking for. And next thing you know, you're going to get a DM. And that sounds very fairy tale-ish, but firsthand experience. It happened to me. It happens to everyone that I coach to go about this route. So I encourage you to be proactive and do that as well, and get started now. Like it's not too early to start looking for work in this industry, no matter where you are in your learning curve. So the next part of advice, and again, just want to reiterate for anyone that's joining, if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm happy to, during our time together, answer them specifically for you. I do want to maximize our time. But one thing that I think is very scary for most people when I'm talking about this is being authentically you and showing up as yourself online. And I think it's mainly because a lot of people feel like, okay, but I don't really have much to offer, right? Especially as a bootcamp student, you may feel like, my skills, I'm still in the learning stages. It's still early on. I'm still figuring this out and breaking a lot of things along the way. That's okay. There are a lot of junior developers right now who are either currently college students getting their computer science degree. There are many people who are going the self-taught route. There are some great resources like free code camp, YouTube tutorials, goodness knows. And so they're going that way. And then there's you guys. the boot camp students. And that's fantastic. But what makes you different from these other masses? You showing up and sharing your story and what you're building and what you're learning. It is so much more beyond the actual tech skills. Of course, that's a foundational necessity, but what's going to matter is how you as a person are showing up. Because guys, I know that AI and a lot of hiring processes are automated, but overwhelmingly, it is still human beings who are making these hiring decisions. And again, as a decade of working in executive recruiting, and to preface, I actually didn't work in tech. I worked in manufacturing with some of the largest companies in the United States, and I worked with a lot of C-suite executive roles. The point is, the person that got hired was the person that they liked the most and wanted to work with, right? You can have all of the skills in the world, and I'm not minimizing that, but people want to work with people that they want to work with, right? People who are team players, good communicators, show up with the personality that's going to make the workspace a better place and more cohesive. That's still at the root of all these business decisions, regardless of your industry. So here it comes to networking. If you're anything like me and you're starting from zero, literally like I did, you may think, I don't know how to do this. It seems very overwhelming. The good news is that LinkedIn is very networking friendly. So what I did, I started filtering by geography. So I'm based in Louisiana right now. And I was like, okay, I want to just connect with other people who exist in tech that are local to me. And LinkedIn search filters are actually very user friendly. So you could literally just type in data analyst, Louisiana, Chicago, wherever you are, whatever the title is, and a list of people who have those relevant titles and are in your area will show up. And you can send them an invite request. LinkedIn allows you to send a certain level of free messages, sending things like, hey, I'm a current bootcamp student and I'm looking to connect with other locals in tech. Would love to add you to my network. Like, it doesn't have to be anything heavier than that. And to be honest, most people are really kind and super willing to, especially if you're local, that's great. And next thing you know, you might be getting a message asking if you want to meet up for coffee sometimes, or that can be how you find your next mentor. That's literally what happened to me. I started connecting with some locals here in Baton Rouge where I'm at. And next thing I know, I had this guy who runs this crazy, I'm going to get into what he does later. That's on another slide. He's amazing. I was so shocked that he gave me the time of day. He was literally voted like Louisiana's person of the year. And his work in tech is incredible. And he invited me to have coffee with him. And he was the person I ended up getting my first coding gig with, which was, it would not have happened if I hadn't shown up and talked about what I was doing and reached out to connect with people near me. You do have to exert that effort and put yourself out there first for this to happen. So again, I talked to a lot of boot campers and also just a lot of people who are trying to break into the tech industry. My advice, spend an hour a day engaging on people's content that's relevant to your goals, right? So people who work for the companies you might want to work for, right? Engage on those people who are active so that they recognize your name and you're no longer a stranger whenever graduation comes or whenever you see that they have a job opening and you're like, hey, Greg, how's it going, buddy? I see that, you've got this role, just letting you know I'm interested. The response you're going to get is going to be so far above, like I said, them running an ad and just getting inundated with thousands of applications. And if any of you are active on the job boards right now and already applying, most of you probably know that the odds there aren't fantastic. And having a warm referral or someone who maybe even at that moment they don't have an opening, but then it's like, oh, well, actually my buddy, because people who are active and proactive in the tech industry, they know each other. These are all people who are running their businesses. And I can promise you that also people who have been in this industry for a while, most of them end up having their side gigs too. Most people that I know that have been in tech, they have their main job, but they're also building this project on their side. They also have this startup pipeline for next year. And so they're going to need some junior devs to bring on that team. It happens all the time. So that comes to the next part, just beyond connecting with people, and that's building in public. That means you post about what you're doing. what you're learning, the problems that you're running into, and also taking the time to explain what that looks like. How did you go about it? Share that with people. Not only is it great for potential hiring purposes, but also you might be the person that inspires other boot campers or entry-level people who are lurking and terrified to do this. To be honest, I can't tell you how many messages I get a day now from people who are like, you inspired me to start posting. Like, thank you for showing up. And I think it's really, really great for us to collectively lift each other up, because at the end of the day, I know we all have the common goal of cracking this industry, getting a job, making that tech money, but also being in an environment where we can build these amazing ideas and solve all these problems. So share those repos, ask people for feedback, which is so terrifying. I remember whenever I started posting about what I was building, I was very proud of it in my safe classroom context with my classmates who I knew wouldn't judge me because we were all on the same level. And the thought of me posting my little rudimentary crud apps on the worldwide internet was so scary. I was terrified of anyone seeing my code. It was like, no, don't look at it. But realistically, most people are incredibly supportive. As I mentioned, also, so many people have started from scratch, right? Whether they took the CS degree route or self-taught, we all learn the foundational basics first. And that's a great way to get feedback, get improvement. And it's going to make you a better developer or a better tech employee if some of you aren't going the software engineering route. But also, whenever you're building in public and you're explaining how you're solving these problems and people are seeing your progress, again, guys, it goes back to whenever you're consistent and that opening comes up, they're like, yeah, I've seen how far this person has come over the last few months. And that happened to me so many times. Like I said, I started posting very early on in my boot camp experience. And over the course of those 6 months, I had people being like, I'm seeing your progress. Let me know when you're graduated and you're open to looking for a role, and let's have a conversation. That happened to me multiple times, and which was awesome, but it would not have happened if I had just, to be honest, gone through my boot camp and then written up a resume one day and started hitting the job boards. I'm not minimizing that. People do, of course, get jobs from job boards. In today's climate and tech market, I would not recommend that being your strategy. So really good news about specifically posting on LinkedIn that helped me is compared to every other social media platform, it has more lurkers than any other platform. I'm telling you guys. So you don't even have to remove those thoughts of, oh, no one's going to see my stuff. I promise you they will. Not everyone will, but people will be seeing what you put out. So only 3% of users on LinkedIn post any sort of content. I'm on there all the time. Feel free to connect with me, by the way. Oh my gosh, send me a connect request. Tell me you were here. Let's be friends. I'm happy to answer any questions and help you in any way. I love boot campers are my favorite. Y'all are my people. And then only 17% of users actually comment or engage on any amount of content on LinkedIn. Those are huge discrepancies. So if you, again, we're thinking about the tech market right now, it's very oversaturated. The economy kind of sucks, right? A lot of people are scrambling, trying to land a tech job through a bunch of different avenues. And it's hard. It's very difficult to get an interview, much less a job right now. So what are you going to do besides this boot camp that's going to give you that actual advantage? And I'm telling you guys, this is it. It is genuinely worth any discomfort that you might have in trying something new. I promise you, I know firsthand how intimidating and scary it is. But it's worth it. Everything that has come to me from it has been so far beyond my expectations. 80% of people are lurkers. And again, it goes back to, I can't tell you how many people send me private messages that have never commented on my stuff and been like, either I've seen your stuff and I want to interview you, or thank you so much for posting and inspiring me to do this. It's given me the courage and strength to. And guys, I'm just some girl who wanted a software engineering job. I genuinely did not have any secret sauce. My uncle doesn't work for Google. I wish. Oh my God. But I was just someone who is approaching their 30s and trying to start over from scratch, knowing nothing. And I've learned a lot along the way. And so now it's become my mission to do this for you guys. And I see we do have a question from Pros Madison that says, what habits or routines helped you maintain momentum after graduating from your boot camp? Right. So I'm kind of assuming that with momentum, you might mean on the technical side. I have continuously done, of course, now I do freelance software engineering, just to clarify. I get to pick and choose my clients. For full transparency, that has come from my networking on LinkedIn. I'm in a very fortunate position that now I get to decide what I want to take on and who I want to work with. That is not the common experience for most people in tech. But one thing I do know is that implementing these practices are going to set you apart. I've seen it time and time again with the people that I coach in this industry too. So it's not just me, it's the people who are consistent and show up. So I have done some continuous learning too. And also through my networking, I gained friends, like just organically, other people in tech who invited me to be a part of projects that I thought were interesting. And that's helped keep me sharp and also learn new frameworks and also learn more about pull requests, right? And how to actually interact beyond just your siloed code base that's on your own VS Code on your computer. It's made me a much stronger developer, but it's been organic. And that's a big differentiator. So tying this all together, great. But why can't I just rely on job boards? Why do I have to do all of this? These stats, one thing I am an expert at is hiring, the hiring process. And 70 to 80% of jobs are not publicly posted. It costs a lot of money to do so. And to be honest, if someone knows about an opening, and most people who are established in this industry, they know other people. They are connected with the people who are posting and building in public like I was. And now many of my friends are, who are now successfully landing roles and doing work in the tech industry. They're just going to reach out to them. Why would they spend all this money on running an ad and again, get inundated with thousands of resumes? And for full transparency, like when I was doing my recruiting job, even though it was in manufacturing, I read at least 200 resumes a day, not an exaggeration. And I spent a few seconds on each one. I know that's not what people like to hear, but it's the truth, because I knew what I was looking for. If I didn't see it immediately, I moved on to the next one. And it's not personal, and that really sucks. And I don't say that to be discouraging, but to rather drive home the emphasis of the impact that you will have for your own tech career whenever you show up and become somebody that people get to know. It's not about getting famous online. It's not about going viral. That's not at all what I'm talking about here, but I'm talking about connecting with these decision makers who are doing the work that you want to be doing. They're out there and they want to work with other people who want to do this and who want to be a part of this. Like I have had over 1,000 coffee chats, just little one-on-one video chats with people all over the tech industry since I've started doing this. And I talk to people at all levels of tech. Some are startup co-founders, some are CTOs, some are really big tech bigwigs. Like, and it's awesome. It's all just come from this. But one thing that they tell me that they all are looking for when they're looking to bring new talent to their team, no matter what level, is that hunger, that attitude, that I want to be a part of this. Here's how I'm showing up to do this. And that's going to take you so much further than just, hey, I have all of this technical know-how. Again, I'm not negating that, but a lot of people have that. There are a lot of people who are building very similar applications, grinding the same leak code problems as you. You do need that. That's fantastic. But whenever there's a very saturated and competitive market, you do have to step back and take a look at how you're going to get ahead of those thousands of faceless resumes where it's not personal. You're just another piece of paper rotating through the roster. So there's hope. These are some steps that will at the very least get you a conversation, or down the line be someone that whenever, again, 6 months from now, most of you, I'm assuming, are planning on being in tech for years to come, far beyond your initial tech role. So you need to be thinking about the long game. But while we're talking job applications, just a little bit of advice that I want to share with you guys. This is my opinion. But again, for looking at resumes for 10 years, and I know people don't necessarily love this too, but a clean, clear, boring resume is best. And what I mean by that is like, avoid the flashy colors and the over-the-top graphics. You know, tables are kind of a nightmare. They sometimes get caught in the ATS like within 5 seconds, because it really does take, for an experienced hiring professional, just a few seconds to look at a resume and be like, either this is enough for me to maybe go on to the next step, or no, and I'm never going to look at it again, and I'm never going to think about it again. So I should be able to see like your name, what you do, and in the first bit, some keyword. There are different ways to do this, but things that match what job you're applying for that are going to make me pause and go, oh, Okay, all right, you've got my attention. And if you can do that, you've already increased your odds significantly. So that's just my little bit of advice. Also, one thing too, I recommend that people don't, it's just my opinion, but that people don't put a photograph on the resume, like a headshot is what I'm trying to say. Only because human beings have biases, whatever that may mean. And you never want to give anybody a reason to say no to you. And the reasons I've heard people say no to a hire, for legal reasons I will not share, but it is unbelievable. So everything that you can do for the first bit, which is your resume, check enough boxes to get to the next step. Okay, because then it goes down to, I'm talking about from a job board application standpoint, you're a nobody. You just have to get past that threshold. And then you get to show them how amazing and incredible and also talented and pleasant you are to work with. That's the next step. So consistency is going to be your best friend. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the world's biggest genius. I promise that is not necessary for being successful in this industry, but you do have to keep showing up. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what you guys are doing. Being in a boot camp requires consistency. You have to show up. You have to meet those deadlines. You have to get a passing grade in order to get your certification. And the same principles apply when it comes to networking, building in public. One of my favorite things that is going to come of this, I can guarantee you, is not just going to be the job, which I'm rooting for each and every one of you, but it's going to be the community that comes with it. Now, that was something I never expected. I didn't expect to now have like real friends and mentors that I can call anytime, day or night, that are in my corner, and we get to solve and go through this together, because I've had also a lot of friends in tech who've been affected by these mass layoffs, and we're rooting for each other, but we're also helping each other find work, or maybe we're starting a new startup together. Like, brilliant things happen whenever really intelligent builders such as yourselves come together. And it's going to be so much more powerful than you just building on your own. So last bit of advice here, stay off of Reddit. People are mean. I made that mistake whenever I seriously was researching on like trying to break into tech and what I should do, what route I should take. Some people love that platform, and that's great, but it's just not going to serve you to continuously read about all of the doom and gloom. And I'm not talking about just like weird toxic positivity or being delusional. That's part of why I try and say that I want to be as transparent as possible about how difficult it is in this current market. I see it firsthand every day. And I talk to a lot of people who have been trying to get their first gig for a while. So, and that's why I try and coach them, give them these tips to get in front of the right people. So, and as far as the consistency and tying in with the whole mental health thing, celebrate your smallest wins too. Even if that just means you debug something successfully, all of your tests pass, like that's great. And talk about it, build community that way too. And again, I want you guys to, even though you're boot camp students, and I know for most of you, your goal is to land that first tech gig. Absolutely should be the point of your focus, but you also need to be thinking about how you're planting these seeds with this networking, right? So that 3 years from now, when you're no longer the junior dev and you got a little more certifications under your belt and some additional skills, you have people for when you're looking to make your next move to leverage to a more senior role. And you're, again, not starting from scratch, resume slinging. That's actually one thing that I get a lot of senior people who've been in tech for a decade plus, and in this economy, they're messaging me and they're talking about how they can't find work, but they haven't been networking. They haven't been showing off their skills in public, being connected to this tech community with these decision makers. So now, even though they have 10 years of experience and know 7 different languages and can code around many other people, they are at a disadvantage, because now they find themselves again hitting those job boards, and even in those more senior roles, inundated against thousands of other applicants, where the hiring people, they're just looking at sheets of paper, right? It becomes so much more impersonal. And the movers and shakers in tech, these decision makers are making a point to be connected, because they are looking for these, I hate to use the word rock star. I know it's so like synergistic corporate, but it's a really good way to describe the reality of the situation, right? You want to be who they think of, right? So now you've got 2 years of JavaScript, Tailwind, and React under your belt. Great. And so your buddy's going to reach out because he knows you and he's like, hey, are you even interested in this role? You're going to find yourself getting DMs, messages, contacted for opportunities that you didn't apply for. And even if you are currently employed, the organic reciprocity that comes from this long term, that alone is going to be worth it. Like, it not only is it going to shortlist your own job search, and I'm not sitting here guaranteeing you the perfect job. That would be ridiculous. But every interview that I've gotten has been from my LinkedIn networking. And I was doing both. I was doing everything I'm sharing with you and also hitting the job boards. I got emailed a couple of take-home tests, not take, like where they email them to you. I did a couple of proctored ones that I actually did well on, but they were for larger companies and someone else got the job. And okay. And I still never even talked to a person. I got ghosted a lot. I got a lot of pretty immediate, hey, thanks for applying. Tough, to try again another time. And again, I'm not sharing this to be disheartening, but rather just to share the reality of what so many people are facing. And it's a huge differentiator whenever I would get a DM saying, hey, I've been seeing your stuff. Most importantly, I love your attitude. And I would love to have someone like you on my team. And it would be from co-founders. It would be from CTOs. And even though they were for more junior level jobs, I caught their attention because they liked what I was doing. And I know it saved them money. And I got to the point in my career. My story is very unique. It's not the traditional one. I found myself doing so much collaborative stuff and discovering that I actually really enjoy doing live streaming and coaching people through these things that I've learned to help you guys, to help people like you avoid the same mistakes that I was making and get a little bit of a competitive advantage because I know firsthand what a difference doing all of this can do. So now I'm a full-time content creator. I do coaching, personal branding advice, and also I do freelance software engineering work. And I'm very fortunate to be in that position, but that's not the norm at all. So one of the other biggest things that has come from these networking efforts is finding a mentor. All that means is someone who could be slightly ahead of where you are in your career, or could be someone who's, Gandalf knows everything and works for Google and has all the answers. But the point is, it's someone to help be your compass. It's a personal relationship for accountability, which I think is actually something that's really great for boot campers specifically, because you're going to go through this boot camp, but then at some point the boot camp ends and then you're on your own. What are you going to do next? So having someone that you can message and be like, hey, can I run this project idea by you? Can you take a look at my resume? Can you help me do some mock interviews in a safe space where this person, you have that trust and they can truly give you that feedback and be coachable? And do remember too, especially if you have a good mentor, that if they tell you that, your work, whether that's your code or how you're interviewing, could use some improvement, do not take it like it's an attack. These people generally do have your best interests at heart. And I can't tell you how many people want to mentor in tech. Like that weirded me out. I was not expecting that, but many people, when they see people like me show up with that thirst and with that hunger, they'll spend time with you and they won't charge you for it necessarily, right? Like they just want to see you succeed. They want to help the next generation of these people in tech grow and contribute so that they can build and make this world a better place and also make a lot of money. Like that's a win-win for everybody. So overall, some of the biggest lessons I've learned too, again, with all of these talks that I've had with people on all levels, one of the biggest things that they are looking for in a new hire, regardless of level, are the communication skills. Are you collaborative? Do you take feedback well? Are you pleasant to be around? You know what I'm saying? There are some stereotypes that exist in tech, and I will say they exist for a reason. There's a lot of gatekeeping in tech. There are many highly intelligent and very talented people, but they also unfortunately can have the mentality of, I literally know best, and if you don't agree with that, that's a problem. That's not a majority, but it does exist. And I do think that that is part of why some of tech gets a bad rap. And people who've been around the block in tech, again, regardless of scale, tell me a lot that they would much rather have someone who's hungry and coachable with a little bit less knowledge, right? But is going to be a real team player and show up and be accountable. And they're going to go so much farther than the other person. That's the opposite. I've heard that so many times, and they didn't know separately that they were telling me that, right? These were unconnected conversations, but I've heard it enough that I realize it's an absolute fact. So whenever you do show up as a human being, right, and you do have these conversations with people, that instantly makes you 100% more hireable. So also one thing too, a lot of people do care about, even though there's all of this money and industry changing and innovation, it's very fast paced and can get all up in the corporate eon of everything, is many people in tech really do care about solving problems. And one of the examples I want to give, there's a company called Ground Force Humanitarian Aid. Now, this is the gentleman I shared about who is now one of my mentors. He was voted Person of the Year in Louisiana, and he gave me my first shot at coding, a coding gig. I did some work for his organization, but he uses software. Here in Louisiana, we have hurricanes, we have tornadoes, like we have serious natural disasters. So his goal is, and he has done very successfully, is creating technology to help first responders and these organizations that have the resources that these people in actual emergencies need connect during these times of crisis, whenever the power's out, whenever there's no internet access, whenever senior citizens are trapped and they literally don't even own a smartphone, like helping communities truly come together. It's beautiful. Honestly, you should look it up, and also like just maybe reach out. They could always use some more tech support, just a thought. But it was incredible that this is now one of my best friends. He's remarkable. And I love that I got to be a part of something that's making this kind of impact. Like, I'm so proud of that. That means so much to me. So there's so much that can come from this, from whenever people who really have this common goal come together. Like it's actually, not to get sappy, but it's really beautiful. But this is the first step for you. The boot camp is the foundation upon which you're going to be building your career. It's a broad, fast, very exciting industry, but it's also quite nebulous. So right now you might be in a boot camp to become an AI engineer, right? Maybe a data analyst. Maybe you're going the cybersecurity route. Whatever your goals are, keep rooting for that, but also keep an open mind, because as you get some of this experience, and to be honest, as you start connecting dots and meeting these other movers and shakers online, like thank God for the internet that you can find yourself having these conversations with someone who lives over in New York City and is looking for someone to add to his startup, and you're the person he's talking to. That's fantastic. But your role also might evolve over time to where you become an instructor. Maybe it's for a boot camp, a mentor, your own CTO. Hey, you can have your own startup with a couple years, right? And I know people personally who've ended up becoming very successful with that, doing their own thing. Not everything has to be oriented around these large companies. There's so many options. There are so many people out there who have great ideas, but they need someone with the skills to help bring it to life. So if you show up and you're like, I have some of these skills, you guys can make magic happen. I mean, I look at my own journey and how all I cared about was getting a full-time software gig. Like that was my only goal. Didn't even think about anything else, but organically through all that I learned, didn't have anyone to teach me. I now have all of these opportunities. You know, I'm a tech podcast host. I'm also an author. I wrote a book on personal branding because I realized I'd learned all this stuff from scratch, and I was starting to get people messaging me all the time, asking me how to do what I was doing. And so it's basically a guide of everything I wish that I had whenever I was starting out. And most importantly, you are not alone. And I think especially in this remote oriented world that is tech, and how competitive and cutthroat it can be, and all of these talks about the dim market, there is a huge community of people that I interact with all the time online, and actually specifically on LinkedIn, of people who will be there to support you if you show up. It does become very organic, non-transactional, and not only could it lead to your next job, your next promotion down the line, but also just like having a pipeline of people who understand the world that you live in and what you do, that live all over the world, that you can just spitball ideas with, or get some advice or some support and encouragement whenever you're getting those rejection emails, or whenever they decide to choose another candidate, which statistically will happen. You know, I hope all of you get a one and done. I pray that for each and every one of you. But that's just not as likely. So I believe in you from the bottom of my heart. Like, guys, if I can do this, I promise you that you can. So I do just want to share for the attendees, here, this is my book. I have cats. I'm known for whatever. I like cats. This is the book that I wrote. If anyone would like a free copy of it, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a message. Let me know you were in this chat. It's Like I said, it's not necessarily just for boot camp graduates. It's for anyone who's trying to just learn how to show up online, network meaningfully. If you don't know what you're doing, don't know what to say, again, feel free to reach out. You can look me up on LinkedIn, send me an invite, let me know that you were here. I'll connect and accept it, and I'll give you a code for a free copy of my book. But that's sort of the end of my talk. If anyone has any questions in the last few minutes, anything I didn't address or you'd like me to dive deeper into, please drop it in the chat. I definitely want to maximize this while we're here together. Thanks, Colton. Thanks for the applause. I really appreciate it. And Desiree and Gracie, I want to thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. So I don't think anyone can see me right now, but I have my camera open. Let's just it'll take for a while. All right, there we go. I can see myself now. All right. So to everyone right here, if you guys have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. But as we wait for others' question, I do have some questions for you.
Sure.
We might have like go back to a few slides if needed, if necessary.
Sure, of course.
But, is there any approach that you could give advice on networking without feeling too salesy or insincere?
That's a great question. And actually, yeah, because I will say, avoid saying things to strangers on the internet like, hey, you work at this company I want to work at. Will you give me a referral? Like, don't do that. They don't know you. No, but people do that a lot. Like it's really not silly. I get all kinds of messages. There's definitely a way to be tactful and to be intentional. So if someone does work at a company you want to work at, just don't be upfront about that necessarily. Like my approach is saying, hey, I'm a boot camp student, or whatever your status is. I'm a boot camp grad. I'm a junior level engineer. I'm just looking to expand my network with other people in this space. Would love to connect. Like, keep it simple, conversational. Like, don't sound like AI wrote it. That's another thing. Don't do that. Most people can tell. Sound like a human being, someone that's just actually trying to have a conversation. But be intentional. Make sure it's people who are going to potentially be someone that you might want to work with one day. And then also, too, one of the other things that I don't recommend people doing is asking for anything right off the bat. Again, from strangers, they don't know you. There's no skin in the game for them. That's just not the way to go about it. And so also, too, whenever you're doing your research about who to connect with, right, you're looking up people's profiles, look through their content. Have they posted something interesting? A lot of people in tech love to share their knowledge. Okay, they're like, a lot of them, they like to write articles, tutorials. Comment on that post, or whenever you message them, be like, hey, I really enjoyed your tutorial on whatever. Make it personal for them, because then they're going to read that, and it's not just someone else who wants something, but it's rather, oh my God, they read that? Are you serious? Like, who doesn't want to connect with that? That's awesome. So that's a really good question.
It's a very wholesome as well if you really do find something on themselves, like things that they write, and then you reach out to them talking about that.
Yeah.
It would be, it's not just the person that you're reaching out for would be like, oh, they read me. Oh, they read what I did. They read my post. They read my things. It's more of like they are curious and they want to know more.
Right. Yeah. And Isaiah, I do see your question. It says, what does standing out with confidence mean to you personally? Ooh, so I every time I do these talks, I really try to drive home the fact that, like, guys, I'm an introvert. I live alone. I have 2 cats. I started from scratch. I didn't know anything. I'm not a tech genius. Yes, I've gotten better as a developer, so I'm not minimizing my skills, but I had to just do the scary things. Like, I had to create a LinkedIn profile, call myself a software engineer, which already felt so fake. I was like, I'm not though, but like, you have to just get over that. And then I had to send messages and connect requests. And I had to get over this mentality of like, I don't deserve to be here. Like, because I don't work for Google, because I haven't invented this genius thing. Like, who am I? No one's going to care. No one's going to pay attention. Like, it's very normal to experience that. And I talk to many people who do. You just have to tell that voice to be quiet and keep going. Like, honestly, that's, I wish I had a better answer, but you just have to silence it and get over your discomfort, because I promise you the payoff is going to be so much worth it. And so also, Roberto, is it okay for me to keep posting links to my GitHub codes and repos on my LinkedIn profile? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, actually, so real quick, LinkedIn hack. Okay, I've learned, I've been really active on LinkedIn for these past 2 years now. So one thing I've learned is that for some reason, LinkedIn hates links in the post. So I recommend writing a post about whatever you're building, right? Like say, hey, I just built this. If you want to check out my repo, I'll put a link to it in the comments. That works a lot better. I don't know why LinkedIn is that way. A lot of people don't like that. That's just a little bit of advice. It might help your stuff get seen by some more people. If you write your post about whatever and then say, hey, if you want to check it out, you can find the link in the comments and then post it and then comment that link in the comments of the post. So Isaiah, where can we find mentors? Yeah, so this kind of goes back to what I've been talking about with just the very organic conversations. Again, if you follow the steps of what I shared with you, you will find yourself having conversations. People will reach out to you. You'll find yourself in the comment section engaging with someone back and forth. And, if you have spoken comfortably enough with a person specifically that maybe you might have an interest in mentoring you, again, early stages, I might just start out by saying, hey, could we maybe just have, I like to call them coffee chats. You can call it whatever you want, a little call, a little virtual session where I can pick your brain for maybe 30 minutes about what I'm doing, what I'm facing. Again, assuming you've already spoken to this person, don't just go up to a stranger that you've been lurking on and ask them this. But people tend to be really super open to that. I have 4 mentors right now. And I'm not trying to name drop it. One of them works for Microsoft. He's like one of the most intelligent people in the world. The other guy's the guy from Ground Force Humanitarian Aid. These are people, though, who I'm very blessed that they do take the time out of their day that if I have a question or want to bounce an idea off of them, they'll make themselves available to me. And I can't guarantee that for you, but whenever you do your part, other people will do their part too. And Desiree, great question. Was there a specific moment? Oh my gosh, when you felt like you finally broke through in your tech journey? Yes. Oh yes, I'm so excited. That moment for me was whenever I quit my job of 10 years. Like that, I was so scared. Oh my gosh, guys. I was accepting a freelance contract, taking that little baby bird out of the nest step. Oh, I was so nervous. And so whenever I turned in my 2 weeks and then signed the onboarding contract, oh, that was it. I was insufferable on LinkedIn. I was like, guys, I'm officially a software engineer. I was so proud. And I loved that win for me. And I love seeing that for other people too. And Roberto, my LinkedIn profile has a project section. Yes. Yes. Post everything, guys. Put links to your GitHub, links to everything. When I say be obnoxious, I'm just saying, like, don't feel shy about sharing what you're doing, what you're working on. Like anything you're building, act like the entire world needs to see it. It's such a powerful thing. And yeah, absolutely. Make it very easy for anyone who visits your profile to, if they want to find your work, they should be able to without searching too hard, if that makes sense. These are great questions, guys. I love this.
All right. So, yes, feel free to still drop questions, everyone. Although I do have another question.
Yes.
What could be your best advice for someone who's been job hunting for months now without success?
Yeah, that's also something I get still messaged about a lot today. So when I have these talks with people, I ask, okay, what have you been doing? Like, tell me what you've been doing. Okay, so you've revamped your resume for every job. You've done the ATS checker. I'm happy to recommend other job boards. Built In, by the way, it was one of my favorites whenever I was looking for a job. Just throwing that out there, they had some really good tech jobs. But again, it's like, okay, but are you connecting with people? I'm sorry, but that will always be my number one thing. Are you having conversations with people who are going to be seeing your work? Are you posting online? Are you gaining visibility? Like, are you putting yourself out there for these people to see? Again, it goes back to the whole tree in the forest thing. Like, you could have the greatest resume and the best capstone project anyone's ever seen in the world, but if no one is getting access to it, you're not going to get as far, and I just really don't recommend the resume slinging. Yes, keep applying for jobs online because people do get hired that way, like they do. But overwhelmingly, the people that I talk to, it comes from the connection stuff I talk about. Another question, what's something you wish more boot camp grads understood about the tech industry and career growth? Yeah. I'll be honest, okay, so super vulnerable time in my own boot camp. whenever I started posting online and networking, I became very close with everyone in my boot camp, right? I started out with like 32 people in my specific group, right? And I shared with them. We would have 3.5 hour long classes every evening because most of us were adults with 9 to 5s, right? So our classes were in the evening. And I would share with them and I'd be like, oh my God, guys, this happened. And now I'm having a conversation with this guy. And this guy asked me to be on his podcast. Like, it was crazy. And I was like, okay, so I've learned a little bit, like, let me help you. I'll spend an hour on my weekends and help you guys build your LinkedIn profile, help you figure this out. And no one took me up. I'm not going to lie. I was devastated that no one did it. Out of 32 people, I was like, I felt like I was going crazy because I now realize, though, how scary that is for people, how uncomfortable it is for people, because time and time again, whenever people are coming to me and telling me they aren't having these successes, it's because they aren't doing this stuff. You know, they're focusing kind of on the wrong thing. And that's really unfortunate because realistically, what a time to be alive that any person can go on the internet and have a voice. I mean, if you really think about it, that's insane. Like I again, don't have a college education, am not particularly more intelligent than anybody else who's trying to make it in this industry. And now a year and a half later, I have a tech podcast. I have had one-on-one conversations with some of the coolest people in this industry. And I'm extremely thankful for that. But it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't just shown up. And you do absolutely deserve to take up this space and share your voice and your story. And I think you're really doing yourself a disservice if you go ahead and cut yourself off at the knees that you don't deserve to be here or that no one's going to care. Like, don't fall for that. Everybody has that. Like, I have my moments too. I do live streaming and talks all the time. I still get nervous before. That hasn't gone away a year and a half later. I don't know if it ever will. So just don't stop betting on yourself.
All right. So for my last question, I think this is just for more like, again, advice to students and grads. So if a student could only focus on one thing to stand out after boot camp, what should it be and why? It feels like I'm asking pageant questions.
I love that. No, I think especially now, again, I did a software development boot camp. I know you guys have different programs, but stay consistent within your stack. I think that there's so much noise in the tech space about like the latest and greatest, and then you got to pivot to this and you got to know this. I think it's actually a lot more powerful to get really good and comfortable with one thing first. And it's going to make you a stronger candidate, especially starting out, right? Like I think people would rather hire someone who's really comfortable, for example, with JavaScript and React versus like they know a little bit of C and a little bit of Kotlin or fill in the blank. I'm just using that as an example. So get strong and comfortable with one specific area and build a lot with that and have a good little portfolio of things to showcase with that. Like having a tangible thing to show someone who might be interested in interviewing you is very powerful. And yeah, and then also I want to get to Colton's question. What percentage of entry-level tech positions have you seen are remote hybrid? Yeah. So for my experience, a lot of the big tech companies are kind of doing a return to office thing, which I think is interesting. So I think a lot more of the larger companies have generally more of an in-office type situation. And some people love that, by the way. I'm a remote work girly. Guys, I'm wearing pajama pants right now. Like I'm in my house. Okay. So just for full transparency, but a lot more startups and the smaller gigs, which also typically, by the way, can't afford to run very expensive ads. I'm just saying, but they might be on LinkedIn looking for some people to bring on board, are super remote friendly. Like they're happy to just have someone and you guys can figure out the time zone stuff. There are all sorts of situations that exist. So don't lock yourself into that. And do you think, sorry, next question, Roberto, do you think in a LinkedIn profile and resume, products are more important and valuable than work experience? Okay. So that's an interesting question because if you're a boot camp grad and you haven't had your first tech job, you don't have experience. I mean, relevant to the jobs that you're looking for. So what can you do? You build, right? And the good news about having a boot camp, you already have a preset group of people to build with, so you can all accomplish a greater than the sum of your parts sort of situation. And that's great. So I wouldn't say it's one is more important or valuable than the other. You need projects and a good, strong profile to get that job, which is why I encourage the whole building in public. It doesn't have to be a corporate contribution, but that's also the great thing about tech. There are lots of open source options too that I know a lot of people are really passionate about. So that's a great way to add something to your portfolio or your resume. But again, going back to the networking and connecting with other people on your space, you do this, you're going to meet someone who maybe they can't afford to pay a developer, but they're like, hey, if you want to put, and I'm not saying do work for free, you should be compensated. But in this market, if you want to get your name on something, there are opportunities to contribute to a project that otherwise you would not be invited to be a part of. So that's something to think about. That could be a really good differentiator in this tech market.
All right. So I guess that's mostly our questions. Guys, if you still have more, you can still drop it in the chat. But again, thank you for joining us for this week's Friday Tech Talk, and a huge, huge thank you to our speaker, Brooke Sweedar. And we'd love to have you back for another session in the future. So we'd love to have you back for real. And we really do appreciate. And guys, please do connect with Brooke on her LinkedIn. She dropped it in the chat. Ooh.
I just put my link. Please connect with me. And if you want a free copy of my book, I won't charge you. Just connect with me. Tell me you're in this talk. I'll give you a code. It's got cute cat pictures on every page because I don't know, I like cats, but it also has some really good advice in there too. So let me know, okay? And thank you very much, the Tech Academy, for having me on. It was lovely getting to know you all. And so yeah, also we connect and you have questions about building your online presence and profile, let me know you're in this talk. I'm happy to help. I'm rooting for you guys. You guys got this.
All right. Lastly, we do have one follow-up question
Oh, sure.
from Efra. Would you recommend cold emailing companies and offering to work for free to get a foot in the door to local companies?
Interesting. Thank you, by the way, for bringing that to my attention. Okay. So, if you're comfortable offering your skills and experience for free to a local company, you have every right to do that. I mean, free is great. I do think it might still be a bit pitch slappy, and there's something weird in human psychology. We just don't like that. Like, if I feel you're coming at me in any capacity, like you want something or have something to sell, and I'm talking about right off the bat, like, listen, we're all here. We all have agendas. Like, let's not be delusional. But I think it might be nice to maybe offer discounted rates for local businesses who maybe can't afford to pay a larger agency. That's actually, I have a guy, shout out to him, the Tech Dad. Follow him on YouTube. He's one of my best buddies. He was a boot camp grad. He could not get a tech job. And he was doing everything I was doing. And he just was not getting that job offer. Now he has a very successful freelance company, which is also what I'm doing, by the way. And he started out by contacting local businesses. He lives in Ohio, and offering to build him a website for cheap, flat rate. Like, so, and now he's booming, and now he has employees. So there's something there. And it could be a great way to get experience, but also, as I said, there isn't a one-way route to success in tech. Not everyone has to end up working for Microsoft and Google. Not minimizing that if that's your goal. Fantastic companies, love it. Big money there. I totally get the appeal, but there are a lot of other options out there. So don't limit yourself.
All right. So everyone is really appreciating the talk today. I think I as well, because I would love to share this to everyone, and currently our current students and alumni, because this is a very valuable talk. Questions were asked here are also important. So definitely something to look forward and share to students. And again, thank you so much, Brooke. We really appreciate having you here, and to everyone here as well. So be sure to tune in next week for a live tech talk again. And event details are already up on our meetup account. So don't forget to save your spot. So see you again. Again, thank you so much. See you next week. Same time, same channel. Happy weekend, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.